It's been a week since I recorded my take on the Mike Israetel situation, and to say that shit's hit the fan since then would be a little bit of an understatement. And as I'm recording this on Thursday the 9th of October, and by the time that this comes out, there could be another 23 million updates, and I kind of keep trying to wait for things to settle down a bit so I can give a more comprehensive overview, but it just doesn't seem to be happening, so we're just going to roll with it. And also, by the way, in case you're wondering where the mirrors have went in the background, we're getting work done in HQ and we're extending it, so they're currently on that wall over there, so you're just going to have to bear with the ugly looking background, but at least you get a handsome face to look at instead. So this is probably going to be my wrap up of the situation, because I can't foresee there being that much more stuff to happen, but who the hell knows that it's going to warrant yet another video. But just to recap you since the last video, and if you've not went and watched the last video and you don't know what's going on, and if you follow fitness in any way, shape or form, I don't know how you could not know what's going on, but if you don't, go and watch that video and I explain it all. After Solomon Nelson's initial video where he takes apart Mike's PhD dissertation, Mike gets his pal Dr. Wolf guy, I can't remember his name, but something to do with wolves. Those two make a video together, and it was strategically on Wolfman's channel because there would have been less people seeing it because it's a much smaller channel, and it was more or less framed of Wolf guy was making the video trying to discredit Solomon, and it was interspliced with some sort of interview with Mike trying to clarify the situation, and I use that very, very loosely. Then all the mindless cheerleaders like Jeff Nippard start piping up and saying, oh look, Solomon doesn't know what he's talking about, and just trying to like discredit him. And through all the 18 million videos that have been made on this, someone managed to pick up on the dissertation that they used in Wolfman's video was actually like an edited version of the one that Solomon showed, and it was like spliced together, and there was different dates on it, and it showed when it had been edited, and I can't quite remember, there's been that much long, but essentially the gist is that they then edited that shitty copy and tried to say, oh no, this was actually the copy, and that then prompted Mike to come out and say, oh, yep, that one Solomon had was actually the final draft. But then after that he started putting more posts up saying that it actually wasn't the final draft, and that the draft that him and Wolf guy had in their video was actually older than the one Solomon had, but somehow the older one had less errors than the newer one that still wasn't finalised.
Right.
I mean, the whole thing's just so difficult to keep up with, and this is kind of part of the whole point that I'm going to get onto, but I could go into even more detail, and I might actually, fuck it, why not, on like several of the kind of like sub-points and things that have happened that have all stemmed from this. Like I've fucking told you for years, degrees mean jack shit, and it just shows what actually passed for a PhD, and both the obvious subject matter and also just how littered with actual errors it was. And again, I don't put that on Mike, and people are like trying to like point the finger at Mike on that, and it's got fuck all to do with him. It's to do with the people who actually passed it and allowed it. Like, that's where the problem is with that. But hopefully now you realise how much these PhDs just don't mean anything. And I can understand the people that are frustrated because obviously Mike uses the fact that he is a doctor as a like real main credibility point, as do a lot of people, and a lot of people do buy into that. But your formal education should be so far down the list of important things that shows if somebody's actually knowledgeable or not, and debate me on that all you want, this has just been proven. And it also doesn't help your case, if you are going to debate me on that Wolf guy actually said in his defence of Mike that a PhD, and I'm going to just paraphrase here, just shows that you have a fundamental knowledge and understanding of a subject, and not that it's a level above everybody else. And that does sound absolutely mental, and I don't actually know if that's a definite definition of a PhD, but if it is, just backs up my point even more. Jeff Nippard's come out this looking absolutely terrible because he has been giving Mike rim jobs for years, and obviously he is a champion of the science-based lifting, and turns out science-based lifting doesn't actually mean shit. Who would have thought?
Oh no, what happened?
And Jeff Nippard's just got a classic case of being a little bitch, and he'll just flip-flop and try and play everything safe, and one minute he's all like, oh, I don't agree with drama, and I'll say all that stuff and not address certain things, but then he'll play into it and he'll pipe up when it suits him. He was throwing shade at Solomon in the comments, and it's not the first time that he's done stuff like that, by the way. And in Solomon's latest video, which is about Jeff Nippard and his prior relationship with him, and as it turns out that they actually worked together, or at least Solomon was doing consulting for Jeff, and he just goes to show that like 1 minute it's all amicable, and then the next minute Jeff's trying to distance himself with him because he doesn't agree with the drama stuff, and then he starts then trying to like stir up drama with Solomon. And there's probably going to be a separate video I'll make just on that alone, because there was a very, very glaring like what the actual fuck thing that come from that. And not only the fact that Solomon is somehow 26-year-old, I thought he was about 46, but no, he's 26. And for some reason Jeff had a 24-year-old nobody consulting and reviewing his training programs.
What the fuck did I just hear?
I'll get back to that at a later date. But the most carnage thing out of all of this is in Wolf Boy's video where he's talking about Dr. Mike and obviously trying to back him up. He actually has the gall to say that Mike is actually a really humble guy and doesn't like ever bring up or use the fact that he's got a PhD to his advantage.
Yes, I can definitely smell shite.
And I left a comment on that video, basically just the TLDR of my last YouTube video, which is I do not give a shit if Mike has a PhD or not. I like him. But to actually insinuate that he is some humble guy is just like batshit insane. So I left that comment on the post pretty much the day the video came out, and then obviously the subsequent kind of news followed, and then like 3 days later somebody replied to me saying, oh, Mike's actually just lied, do you care about that?
Uh-oh, retard alert!
And this gets the whole point of my video, and yes, absolutely, that is the thing that does break trust in me, and it's not to do with education, it's not to do with if you got a PhD or not, it's to do with like, are you actually a man of your word and being truthful? And quite obviously, yes, now that I'm presented with new information, I do look at Mike in a slightly different light, because he tried to just like lie about the draft version and all that bullshit, and he could have just came out and just said what he said the second time around, but he didn't. He tried to cover it up, and that is more of an issue than I'm having a shite PhD. And this is just what I cannot work out for the life of me, is that why people just aren't more honest, because I think very, very few bad things happen when you are just honest, and you leave yourself open for so much shit when you're not. And I've said this before about like the fake natties and stuff like that, and I feel like the guys who take gear and then like are honest about it get a lot more respect than the people who just lie, because I think there's obviously only so far you can go, because you're going to have half the people who just listen to you or buy into you no matter what, but then another half people hate your guts. Whereas you take somebody like Sam Sulek or the Trent Twins or whatever, who don't really try and hide it, just look at just the trajectory that they went in their careers and their popularity and whatnot. Even Dr. Mike as well, who is insanely open and honest about his drug use, and some could argue maybe even a little bit too much, but I just don't know why it wouldn't be the same with this. And now people like myself, and I'm sure other people, are going to be like, he's just lied through his back teeth just to try and cover up something that, in all honesty, would not be a big deal in a few weeks' time.
Nobody cares, mate. Nobody fucking cares, mate.
There would have probably been a few more days in the news cycle that the story was kind of floating about. Then it would have just died off like anything, and then it would have just been like on to the next thing, and I'm sure people would have brought it up and hold it against someone. Oh yeah, your PhD was shite and this and that. And if you really wanted to address it properly, all he needs to say is, I wrote it years ago, and it's not my like decision what got accepted and what didn't. A lot of this stuff I could have went and like corrected, and it would have been no great deal. The subject matter is also a totally different story, and that's all I had to say. And again, when you're listening to somebody for fitness content, you have to be an absolute dork of the highest order to care about someone's spelling and grammar. Like, who cares? I know that's only one part of the problems with it, but it was a lot of the problems. Like the tables and numbers and stuff like that, I'm sure they were just clerical errors that could have been fixed, and I don't think he's just totally made stuff up, or he's just like said this is what happened and it didn't actually happen. Maybe it did, I don't know. But again, a lot of these faults you cannot put on him, and it's got to go on at the people who supposedly looked over and approved it, which if I were to take a guess, they quite clearly looked through fuck all.
You don't say.
And that's why honesty is the best policy, and that's why I try and be honest to a fault. And I probably overshare certain things, and it depends how much of my content you consume. Like, some of you will probably be like, oh, like, what are you talking about? If you watch me on Instagram, you'll obviously get a lot of it. If you watch me on YouTube, you'll get a little bit more. If you read my emails, which quite obviously don't go like public and they only go to the people who sign up, like, I get quite honest in them about certain things that happen or don't happen, and I actually get advised to not share certain things, and I might do one day, but again, I just don't know why. I was about to say I don't know why people don't be honest. I do know why, because ultimately they feel like they can make more money and get further being dishonest, which is just the world we live in. I don't think that's ever really going to change, but I genuinely think that most people would actually get further if they were just like that little bit more honest. And yes, maybe it'll take a little bit longer to get to, and maybe won't have the same absolute peak that they might otherwise would have had, but I still think that in the long, bigger context of everything, if you're just going to lie through your back teeth about everything and try and take shortcuts with people who are like actually looking to like trust you and get information from you, coaching from you, whatever it may be, like it's only going to last for so long before people just like see through your absolute bullshit. Some people might get away with it for 2 years, some people 5 years, might even get some people that are 10 years, and then obviously there'll be like the idiots like Michael Hearn and whatnot that are able to kind of like make a full career out of it. But how many Michael Hearns and Simeon Pandas, and I'm just picking those two, for example, could you actually say have had like these big, long, illustrious careers in the fitness industry? And I don't want to just make it all about like the fake natties of the world, but there is literally a graveyard littered with the bodies of those who have come and gone. And you could go on other guys in the fitness industry that just spew nonsense for a few years, try and bullshit people, scam them out of money, and then eventually they're just like a flash in the pan and they're done. That's why honesty will always be the best policy, for better or for worse. And for Dr. Mike, again, I still stand by the fact that don't give a shite that he's not got a PhD. I will continue to assess his information the way that I would with anybody else's, and the fact that he's lied has put a bit of a bad taste in my mouth personally. Again, I just don't know why from the start he didn't either just not address it, or he just done what he did when he's been under the cosh. But you never know. I wouldn't even surprise me if this was all like a 4D chess play and he's actually going to come out and say, oh, I've planned it all and this and that, and I'm sat here in another week making another video, but who the hell knows. I feel like that's been a little bit of a ramble anyway, but if you want less rambly videos, make sure you like and subscribe, because normally the videos I put out are actually designed to help you. Sometimes they'll be a bit drama centric, but I'll always try and leave you with a take-home message or something that you can actually use to better yourself, rather than just like waste 15 minutes just watching just shite with shite people. Obviously I'm not the shite person, but anyway, like and subscribe. I am ready to launch my new group coaching program, Strong in 6. It's not actually new, I've done it once before, but it's coming back before the end of the year. So if you want to hit some PBs before Santa comes, fill that out. It's for the ridiculously low price of £99. So get coaching, you get the guidance, you get the accountability for 6 weeks, and you're going to get PBs at the end of it. Happy days, and you're going to add on some new muscle in the process. I will leave it all there, and I will catch you soon.